Did you miss me? I am back like I never left. And I think the bottom of the deck really speaks to the reality of things for me right now and the fearlessness and the radical acceptance that I have about my own energy. Um, I was born under the death energy signature, and I will return to the great cosmos under that signature. And I have been looking everywhere for my home. And since the last video, which was really mere moments before I was going to lose a loved one that would really impact me and allow me to die with the seasons, I knew that every time I assist with a transition from this plane to another, with a soul or an energy that matters to me, I am always guided to this next chapter. And I don't have to run anymore. I don't have to keep searching for home when I have built this home where I belong, where my voice belongs, where it doesn't matter about an outcome for myself, but where the complexities that are nestled in my being can be exactly what they are, where I am. I always thought that this archive would be done, or that it was only for a matter of time, but I realize now when I tell you all I made this for me, it is for me. And I'm realizing now that I can't mobilize certain energies that I receive without returning home every day. And this is a cheers to a completely new era. This is cheers to a completely new journey. And I have changed so tremendously since the last time I was here. And the clarity that has been bestowed upon my vision, the synchronicity, the awareness of myself, the strength of my power. Because just be very clear, and I'm sure you will see proven through the remainder of the message, the sword has been sharpened and sharpened and sharpened and reheated and sharpened, whether I was recording this or not, into this home. So I want to open this up to all of you because you have made it home. As we can all see outside of the house, there's no control whether we are going to witness samsara or nirvana outside of the home. We don't have the divine protections, the rituals, the ceremonies that keep us in our protection and within our alignment. And to continue to make these messages universal, living and breathing and timeless is my greatest challenge in life. But most importantly, to satiate the hunger that I have to return home, not to stillness or occurrence, but to just be at home in myself. That's what's got to take place right now. So I want to give a congratulations to everyone at this time for building that home, setting that foundation. Because you can acutely identify that having this video return to you, having this, regardless of when you find this archive, that you built a home and suddenly the value of a home is budding through the ground in your heart space, in your conscious mind, in your subconscious mind. You're understanding how much that would have been worth, how much it would have been worth to have somewhere where you belong, that no one gave to you, but that your source, your creator, the highest consciousness, equipped you to build. Many of us could look to the side and see that we did nothing with the etheric wood and windows we were given, and they're just sitting there cluttering while we build homes for others. of which many can't even dwell in. Many of us didn't believe or did not have the self-love to believe that we were worthy of being housed, so we're outside 24/7 of ourselves. This message, this video, is for those of you who have your own Virgo Saint North node. And it's bigger than an art. It's bigger, it transcends a job, it transcends the hobby. It's the place where the complexity of you does not need to be understood. And at this time, to articulate the value of something like that is without needing to be spoken. It doesn't matter, because I can rest on this space, in this space. I can rest knowing that I have my sovereign right to keep the lights on in my own home, to return to my own home at any time that I need that one thing that only a house and a home and a sense of belonging can truly give you. So, I'm so thrilled to be back, and I won't put any endings on this, because what I've learned through my limited consciousness is that I'm not using this space to get something for myself, but that if I keep chronologically expressing the complexities of my experience, the complexities of the human experience, if I keep this journal of the prophecies that I choose to allow to come in the clarity and in the fullness of which they were delivered from the sender, if I allow myself to keep record of that and continue to feel the safety that only being on air can do for me on this platform that I made for myself, I would be so surprised at how interconnected everything that I go on to be next really is. And so we're going to get into this reading, but this death and rebirth energy is imminent. The truth is out. The truth sprouted in the spring, whether or not we wanted to deny it or not. And as death processes through, and death walks with you through this transformation, through this understanding of how valuable what this journey we've been on together really is, man, the fear, the release, the surrender, all those terms that we connect with when we think of this energy and its approachingness to us. I can't help but think about death in my own life. Mortality is one way that we tend to associate it with this energy, but what is death? The preparation for the new form. It's the finally going. And I am fully in, and I am finally going from my previous consciousness that this needed to be for anyone else. It's really just for me. And in that way, I am so thrilled to start this message, to be here, and just to allow Spirit to connect with the happenings. I want to give a shout out to my beautiful, amazing soulmate husband, Dennis, who at this time is going through the exact same breakthrough at a distance from me, but will be so happy to know we are here and that we made it, and that I know I need to use the voice that I've been given, use the alchemy, and stand in my role as a mystic to ensure that all the other aspects of myself are always at home. So thank you to all mystics everywhere for this. Two of Pentacles is our first card out. We talked about that core value. When death comes, are you prepared to look at what is eternal? What continues after this process? What is still there? You can move homes, you can start a new phase. You could bring life into this world. You could end a relationship at this time. You could be mourning the loss of a loved one. You could be reaching an achievement. But when this energy comes inevitably and leaves you with the remaining eternal understanding of life, of what keeps going once we have let go of the things that are meant to die away, what still stands? Those are the winners at this time. And for those of us who have completed this infinity circuit, who are living out our eternal nature, who are living consciously enough, as in you have ascended your vessel enough to consciously be living in accordance with your eternal self, it is huge. And it's not anything to increase your heart rate over. It's not anything to wish for. It is just simply the brevity of looking at a mountain range and how little we can even conceptualize the vastness of it. But just the sensation of knowing this will be here long after we aren't. You are at that phase. You are at the eternal core of you. And it's funny, it's two pentacles. You may have been at any tier of the pentacle suit, but to be brought back to the Two of Pentacles after this death, this is the thing that people were being asked to be prepared for. Are you able to keep doing this no matter what? Is this a renewable resource for you? Do you have, because we just finished the death process and now things are budding through the ground, but the only thing that is budding is what stayed alive through the winter. The new flowers you see blooming in your yard, the new plants that burst out of the soil every spring, right, all have to do with what survived. It doesn't always mean it's the biggest orange tree that you remember having last season. It may have been struck down by lightning in the winter season, and now you're just back to a small leaf that you're going to have to re-nourish. But the value of there being a seed that will regrow is what this energy is all about. And the acceptance that I've received about myself and about representing death energy in my life, and therefore out in the world, is that I sharpen people to remember to stay connected to the eternal part of themselves. Because we can get lost in samsara, right? Which is occurrence. We can get lost in this equals that equals this equals that, and this is the reaction of this, and this is where my foot, and it's all occurring. It's everywhere. We can get lost, seek comfort and refuge and complacency in nirvana, and only preferring the stillness of life, only preferring seclusion and controlled environments. And at this time, both complete this. So for those of us who have come through this death process, we now have the cognitive understanding that one of these pentacles is nirvana. One of these pentacles is samsara. And if you are truly living a perfect life, if you are truly at home, if you truly created a home after you got off that ark with the supplies that God gave you, they're connecting at this time. And it doesn't matter if you're starting from the beginning. It doesn't matter if you're a page, a king, an emperor, an empress. It doesn't matter what court or what arcana you're going to be propagating back up at. Some of our crops survived, some of our crops didn't survive at all. But the point was, do you have what could sprout from that soil again? For those I'm reading for, you do. Because it may not look like what you thought it would look like by this time. Because we know time is not for our human brains. It's a system that belongs to the cosmos. So it very much is real, but the time that we describe is not real. It's not a definition for us to conceive, but this energy, this beginning, there's no preference to either or. It's both. In order to juggle, in order to make more money from this skill, you have to be able to have both of them And you gotta be able to keep doing it infinitely no matter what. And that's why I'm back again today. And it would be a travesty for me to not come back to this space and to continue to prove to you and to prove to myself that that is what this is. This is the eternal nature of who I am, and I wouldn't have known it if I didn't press record 2 years ago. And I'm so glad that I did. And I'm so glad that I didn't wait for anyone else or anything else to qualify me to share. This is not even a joke. You just saw me talk about it. This is not even a joke. 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 As I'm talking about welcome home, as I'm talking about welcome home, as I am referring to and showing you that for those of us who now walk with death, it's because you have a home. Death is in motion. It's on assignment. It's going wherever it needs to go next, to whomever summons it. But as death collects its army, because death collecting an army is the definition of a revolution. So the last video that I left you all at was nothing can save you from this revolution that you've seeded in your heart. It's time for you to walk with it. When we're walking with it, and as we do, look at what the people, the energies, the sentient beings that are a part of this parade all have. Each of you watching this video has this. It's not a person, it's not a place, it's not a building, it's a structure in your grid, in your crystalline grid. This house is in you. And so you know the thing that you have, that you built, where the complexities of you, where samsara and nirvana can both be housed to show God. Because when we talk about making a home, a dwelling for God, what makes something holy, right? What makes a sacred space? Is it no impurities? Is it saintliness? Is it a place that has no humans and only bigger celestial beings? What is it, right? I think this army that is parading with death knows exactly what it is. You're a part of that army because you have this, the Four of Wands. Because you could sense, as you were going through this Wands journey at the Three of Wands, that there are ships that will come into your port. But what happens at the Four of Wands? What's the difference between waiting at the port? That's the wood. That's the supplies that you're waiting on. You're not waiting on a colonizer to come bring you tobacco, sugar, whatever good that their country gives you. No. You're waiting on the supplies to build this. So for me, I'm going to use the allegory that my supplies that I have are this ability to record. I mean, I live in a generation where if you're a public speaker, I mean, with the innovations in technology now, I mean, I don't even got to wait for somebody to make me a podcast. I don't have to wait for anything. If there's a message that seeds or shares the complexity, then that's what I have to do, you know. And that's exactly what this is. That's the materials that I was awaiting. And as the spring came, and as we're ready to let the truth really rise of who we are, and we now get a chance to process with death, we now get a chance to walk forward with this revolution that we all had seeded, that we all chose to be a part. This is where we start. Imagine a revolution of people all being in divine union with themselves. Watch how this sets the world ablaze. As I said, this is the parade. Everyone is successful in this revolution. Everyone has achieved for themselves the true wholeness, the true perfection of life, which is what we strive for. You're walking with your value. You're walking with your own value. You're walking with the seed of yourself. You amongst all of these other sentient beings that are not, this is not one agenda. This isn't one party. This isn't any one side of a war. This is none of that. This is at a higher dimensional level. If each sentient and individual being activated their own understanding of their own value, and walked with death, mastered their eternal being, and as death came, look at you leading. Look at you, death was coming for you, you're already ready. That's where you want to be. Death, we get warning, we know, because who summons death? We do. So we summon death at a time when we are ready to transition to the next phase. When we are ready to shed all the things that are of this earth, of this physical dimension, and just move with our eternal self. But to see this, to be backed up by death, the feeling, the success that you have, oh, we already got the revolution ready, and Death's like, dang, thanks, y'all, thanks. That's great, because usually y'all be sleeping, usually people sleeping, not ready, crying and boo-hooing. Death has never seen this. Death has never seen everybody already on their horses, ready to go with their wreaths of victory. It's never been like this, ever. It has never been like this, ever. It has never been like this, ever. So we got 2 cards out. 3 of Pentacles, 9 of Wands in conversation. So here's a separate energy. Death was approaching. You integrated your shadow. You were left out. If you died with this last season, if you died with the seasons over this past winter, and you are now in alignment to resprout during the spring, you would know that as death comes, you're out in front of it, because you are in alignment with the greater cosmos at this time. You are in alignment with revolution at this time. And there is an energy. There is absolutely an energy, because this is everything that you can't take with you. And if you weren't ready to drop all of those burdens, all of those wands that you can't make magic with, you can only make magic with one wand at a time, right? So this is the individuals who are now barricaded from this 3 of Pentacles connecting the dots. This is fate. This is fate. Did you box yourself in from your own fate? This is soulmates. These are destined fated contracts, destined fated events, destined fated people. The next phase was fate. And a lot of people were so wounded and so not, and the point is, when we receive a wounding, we want to stay separate. So I just got wounded by something and I want to separate myself. But the thing that we do is we hold on to the pain that justifies the logic that we were just wounded, therefore we need to separate. This promised land, this happening outside, the other side, this is like people's friends, like, don't come into my front yard, the whole time over here, destiny's happening. Do you want to be on the other side of that barricade, thinking you're blocking everyone out the whole time they're connecting with their fate? This energy swore, oh, I know what to do with my 9 wands. I'm not going to let them go. I'm not going to do as God instructed. I'm going to stack them up, and I'm going to make sure that they can't cross my boundary. But are any of these people even looking over here? Do they even know what this energy is doing? No, they're inside. This person looks like they're on Naked and Afraid. They look like they're wild. They're out. There's someone inside their house getting ready to design the renovations, is what I'm hearing. So we've got an energy that's renovating right now, indoors. And we've got an energy that's in the wild, outside of the kingdom of heaven, right? This is the split that a lot of people will talk to you about, right? Because if you were to go biblical and you were to reference such an ancient conversation, which is what is human? What is man? What is mankind? Are we in the image of some source or not? Or are we a damned people? It goes back to the original conversation of, are you going to walk outside of your kingdom? Because at this time, for those of us who paraded with death, we are marching back into the kingdom. These are the people who are being left behind because they refused to carry their value, To know that the home you're being instructed to build for yourself, not for a family member, not for friends, not for an audience, not for a job, but for yourself, is because now we're already in phase, what do I would call phase 3, right? We're already talking about renovating. We're already talking about what you can splurge on, because we started Two of Pentacles and you're about to get the contract. This is what I'm saying. We started Two of Pentacles, which means you may feel like, man, I'm back where I started. You may feel like, man, I'm at a completely new place. But the part that we're all the same at is that you're starting this new era with the eternal part of you. And that has to do with your karma, what it might look like third dimensionally. But you have the eternal part of yourself, which is what you started with. And you realize that even if I get reduced down to just what the core of this is, baby, I could do this for life. I could do this for life. And because that's the truth, because the big wheel keep on turning, right, you get that third pentacle automatically. Because the thing about this is these are going to keep going. If you do this enough, this is like someone who's decided, I'm a street vendor and I do this because there will always be a market for what I naturally can do on loop, renewably. So it may take 50 seasons, but eventually you will be able to get to build to the next phase, which is exhibition, which is destined and fated connections that are coming to elevate this to the Four of Pentacles, because the Four of Pentacles is that fat sack. It's that fat sack. You get what I'm saying? The Four of Pentacles is when it's like, somebody just gave me 15 mil. I don't know what I'm about to do with it, but they did just give me 15 mil. But it has to do with, are you inside or outside of the kingdom? The kingdom that I'm referring to is your birthright. What you decided you were going to have for yourself waiting in this life, pre the portal of birth, pre your physical incarnation. And like I said, there are people that are outside in the wild, never been inside, never came in. They don't even have a house, let alone ready for renovations. That's what's going to sting. I think there is an energy of a day late and a dollar short, because the way that the truth is sprouting from the ground right now, people are feeling like, well, one, I don't have a home because they don't think they're worthy of one, because again, they are separate from their source, their highest consciousness, the highest creator, the highest timeline. They are separate from it because that is what they chose. They chose to believe the false evidence. They chose to look around and say, there's no evidence that a God is here, that there is any connection to this madness, that this is all randomized, and there's no duality in my tone right now, because it doesn't matter. You can pick what you want to pick, but I am telling you right now, the people that I'm reading for, the connections that I'm reading for, are that this is what's happening next for you. The grid lights up, the lightning strikes, and those destined and fated connections that come from getting out in front of death and riding with it to the shore of the next phase. Why? Because you believed. You believed that everything becomes sacred in your life when you live in truth. Everything is holy. Everything is divine synchronicity when you make your way into alignment with what what God intended for you. You get what I'm saying? Super important. And this is so important, because and when they see, and when I say they, I'm talking about this other path. This is the trying to build IKEA furniture. I love calling it the Five of Wands. Is like trying to build the IKEA furniture, like with nobody got the instructions are in Swedish, and we don't know what to do. What do we do? And the only people that they can ask around, they're realizing, are all people who are locked out of what? Their birthright, their kingdom. This is where this is. This is where it is. You get what I'm saying? Because you go from the Nine of Wands to the Five of Wands, which means what's missing? A home. These people are houseless, homeless, right? And we're not talking about a city structure. We're talking about that internal temple, that crystalline grid. They didn't upgrade their DNA. So they didn't get the download pack. They didn't accept the download pack that you need to make prepper. I'm about to send you a ship with a bunch of materials so you can build your home. and it can be whatever, but you need to just connect with the eternal part of the home. These people did not do that. They chose not to because of whatever the reasoning is, and that's fine. Listen, it all leads to awareness, but when this comes in, the difference between this energy and this energy is 4 wands. The reason people are here is because they're inside. They're inside their house. That's what is about to dawn on these people in the harshest way. Then it's a whoa. Because you're not damned, but you're not going to be able to just hop on. You'd have to wait till the next time the divine lets you know that the cosmos are lining up the way that they are for a reason. So, and God knows when that is. I mean, some of y'all could get into the astrology and try to calculate, but this was the great shift for a reason. This was the great awakening for a reason. Your mystics have been saying this to you for eons. This time, the everlasting now moment is what's been communicated. And to realize this person, this energy, these energies now realize, what the fuck, we don't have a home. They're gonna starting all this drama, but they're not gonna start it with you. They're not gonna start it with you. The only people that are around them energetically are also people who don't have a home. So if you're coming up against this energy, remember to stay in that vibration of like, remember, you already know your energetic climate feels like you're indoors. It feels like you're renovating a house right now. That's what it feels like. And these people feel like, because there's no commonality. That's the issue here. We're not having a shared experience. So the only people that you can go revert to or discuss what is pertinent to you is your houselessness. Yeah, you don't have the house you intended to build for yourself before you incarnated here in this lifetime. And now all you have is whoever the fuck else is out in the energetic minefields without a home. Justice, as we talk about the karma, that's the bottom of the deck there, this 5 of Wands, that's the karma. The justice, the reality is like that's karma. Choosing to create karma rather than to get somewhere and be in alignment with what the planet is doing. Because Earth had to die in order to be reborn and to reascend back into a higher frequency after such a dense age of Pisces that really weighed down our sphere. If you thought there was anything else to be doing at this time other than to connect with Mother Gaia and reflect exactly her process, like I said, I know a lot of times we say this, but Mother's Day is coming up here in the Gregorian calendar, in the time-space continuum that I'm in, and I really honor that season because Mother is home. Okay, Mother is home, and what changes in a house when your mother's home? How does that house run when the Empress is present? Yeah, you get me? So just know that the karmic justice no one can save you from, because to not be a part of this revolution, right? Like, which is what, if you could see what I'm seeing, there are people who are walking with this revolution, moving from this newly eternal part of themselves, which is usually just seeds. So a seed can grow into a beautiful orchard, but you got to start with one seed, and you got to plant it in God's soil, and you got to plant it in right timing. I just saw 3333. Perfect. I just saw 3333, and you got to plant it in God's soil, but you got to get in timing. You got to get on time. You can't just decide, because that's the thing. That's the level of powerlessness that we will experience at a human level when we realize, yeah, this life isn't about just picking and choosing whenever you think it's time to begin or to do things, but that rather every conscious, sentient thought you have is in the envelope of the time that we're in. You really don't have control. Even the things that you think you're making subconsciously or moving on unconsciously. This isn't about a religion. This isn't about a belief in what the deity might look like, or even if it is a deity. The understanding is that it's the whole picture. That whether we believe in a single entity or not, if we were to scientifically just take the whole picture, if we were to say planet Earth is one thing and everything in it is one moving body, that's what I'm referring to. If we're talking about our universe or our cosmos or our region in the cosmos where we reside, if we were to take that whole picture, that's what I'm referring to as prime source, the creator, right? even it doesn't matter. It's not one or the other. It's a big boom. It's a big entity. It could give you the mirage or the vision of something huge with your physical eyes, but either way, it's all of it. It's all of it. So if we were to take the whole picture at this time, that is who we're referring to. That's who this channel is referring to. Is, do you have the ability to think that it's possible that we could all be grouped together? Not just humans. Every aspect of this planet could be grouped together as one thing. Do you believe it could be considered one thing? Doing one bigger thing? That's what astrology is based in. That's what mystic knowledge is based in, is the propensity to believe that it could be one phenomena. Girl, we're channeling today. Yeah, so the justice is cold served to those of you who are, because like I said, this energy is just all you can do once you realize you built up it's like, not only did you walk out of your theoretical Garden of Eden, and I'm not even really trying to just make this about religion, but let's just say for visual purposes, not only you walking out of that visual Garden of Eden, and what I'm talking about is not Jesus Christ Garden of Eden, the Eden that you designed your life to be, where you need to be right now. All of us need to be somewhere, and we're either feeling different scales of emotion about the closeness and the relativity of that, where I should be for myself, right? And this isn't about a job, this is about alignment. This is about where you need to be aligned to at this time. It doesn't matter. It's not a competition. It's not a race. You just need to be aligned somewhere. So when you're out of alignment, and then you build a wall to be like, oh, that's the point right now, is to get out of alignment and then try to worry about an opponent. There is no opponent, because that word I does not exist here. And so now these people, it's dawning on them, the justice, the karma that's cracking down, the Saturnian influence at this time says, it ain't you, it's nothing but you and a bunch of other houseless people. And then that's where we see suffering pervade, because these people don't believe in abundance. They don't believe that they can have anything they want. They don't believe that it's already provided. They don't believe that they don't have to be doing this. If you're upset, if you're retaliating on all these other houseless people because you don't have a house, what? You can build it. Because anybody who has a home, the only difference between you and them is they chose to build it. We've all got circumstances that can displace us from doing this internal crystalline work, from ascending our consciousness, right? And we see examples of that in the third dimension, but I'm not talking about actual housing. I'm not talking about economic status. I'm talking about being able to have a place that you can return to that accepts all of the complexities of you, and building that structure, like I did with Virgo Saint, like my husband did with Dolphin Boy Records. What we're learning is this is not about a business. It's not about an art project. What we're learning is those are our homes as individuals. And as long as he and I both have a home to go to at this time, it's the reason our marriage can prevail. It's the reason we can keep going in this reality, right? So this is the issue, is these people definitely believe in higher power. They definitely think there's someone who's being unfair and keeping them from what this energy feels and this energy feels. How come there are some people that have already achieved their internal home and they're successful from it, and now they're renovating and da-da-da-da-da? If you were to ask any of those people that are experiencing that right now, if you were to ask me, I said you just would have had to listen. You just would have had to follow those synchronicities. You just would have had to let the truth be. You would have had to work on what your preferences, whether you prefer Samsara or Nirvana, doesn't matter. You should prefer one or the other. They're both halves of a whole. They don't want to hear that, girl, and guess where they at? And guess who? Because the illusion that the devil creates all this bondage and da-da-da-da-da. No. This is what the devil in that Tony Montana sample from Dolphin Boy Records is like, you need people like me. You need people like me to call the bad guy, so you can point your fucking finger and not do the work. That's exactly who owns this domain. Because it's in the image of biblical text when they talk about going outside of the thing that damned humanity was not that they disobeyed God, and God's word is in your best interest. It's not meant to be something that is out of your nature. God's word is your nature. So the reason there is this theoretical punishment, right, this domain of the devil energy, is it comes from the fact that God is going to advise you in terms of what is best for you. God being the wholeness, because you are in an image of the whole picture, as everything that is included in our known and unknown reality and time-space continuum is, for all intents and purposes, exactly what you are. You are millions of years old because even the microbes within you are millions and millions of years old, right? So these people, this energy right now that you're also going to see this stark divide for, they are ruled by this, but they project, this is a projected image they make. They will tell you there's some devil out there that needs to be slain because they've got us all chained up, when the reality is they might just be the megaphone for the homeless people. Again, homeless as in they don't have any home that they've built for themselves. Housing and shelter, food and water is, right? And I'm talking about spiritual housing, spiritual shelter, spiritual nourishment, spiritual water. Those things are a necessity. They are a birthright. They absolutely belong to you. They absolutely are for you to have. And you were absolutely born with codes to go and to continue to have that for the duration of this life and any life you go on to live after that. Absolutely believe that. So why do you reinforce a fear-based mentality that says, I don't get those things? Nobody's dishing them out. Nobody's passing you out the water. The water is located in one place within yourself. What's going to refill your cup is located in one place, right? The river, the great river, the great eastern sun, those are located in one place. So you can get up in the morning and go to the corner of your house where the eastern sun wakes you up and you can do your ritual, or else you don't get the sun. If you stay in the basement, you can't sit here and cry that you don't have X, Y, and Z. Right? This is what I mean. These sources, these resources are in the same place. They don't move. So to say, well, I'm not getting that. I don't have a home. Well, the only reason you don't have a home is because you didn't go get it. Because you don't believe you need water, food, shelter, safety. You're either in, like I said, samsara, nirvana, doing all the things, being taken away, not realizing your only point in existence, your only point in living at this time is to make sure you have the things you need to survive and evolve at this time. And the cosmos will always give you a heads up on what the assignment is for any generation of people. So this generation of people is ascending the collective consciousness. That's what I'm here to work with. So we already know the astrological blueprint because you could have looked that up years ago. You could have known where Neptune was going to be years ago. You could look now. That's the beauty of those sciences. But then the part that's up to us is, now that we know the astrological climate, now that we know the energetic climate, how do I adjust? We're talking about this Gemini moon today that's getting me restarted on this, but how do I adjust and remain mutable to change my mind, and then therefore, exactly, get the things that we really need, most important. And I see the King of Cups at the bottom. You see what I'm saying? Because when you have a home, someone could place you, and this is so funny because today in my meditation before this happened, one of the things that I was writing in my journal that stood out from this novel that I love called Ordinary Magic was this line that says, a psychotic person is drowning in the very thing that a mystic swims in. So right now we have those themes, and without going into one or the other, these two, this is the same nourishment that these people make an excuse of and say they're chained by, can't get healthy from, this person succeeds in. So at this point, it's not about better or worse, it's about alignment. What are you? What did you choose? Simple as that. Simple as that. Simple as that. So, we've got this whole picture playing out right now. Tower, Emperor, Two of Wands, Seven of Wands, Hierophant. Let me put these bad boys down and just get my thoughts together. Ugh, there's nothing like this place. There's nothing like Virgo saying for me. So, God is so good that I am able to share my thoughts. So let me put this online up. Sorry, I just want to be able to clarify. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, big theme, big final point here. We came in here talking about the spring, the truth sprouting, destiny, fated events, babes. The wheel is turning. And this is what I mean when it's God's time, right? Time is real, but it's not real in any sense of the word that we could derive it from. Time will function as time does, but the most important thing to understand with when the wheel turns is where you're situated on it. Because I believe it's going to create a lot of things. So the Wheel of Fortune is a very Taurus new moon energy, which is the new moon that cycle that I'm currently in as I'm filming this. And there's so many beautiful planets, and I have a Taurus moon, so I'm lit. That's why I'm feeling my value right now. But it starts with this Uranian influence. This is like Uranus and Taurus, right? Because if it's a Wheel of Fortune clarifying this Tower energy, this is the idea of, remember how we talked about nature naturally, like before we had lawnmowers and like landscapers, right? Nature, before there was civilization and development, would naturally like cut the grass, right? By naturally having burning rituals that would happen in nature. So lightning would strike and maybe it would set a field ablaze. But anytime tall grass gets too tall, those crops are burned and reduced to ashes. It releases the energy of that growth cycle, and then the land is cleared. The same way that trees that overgrow, right? And there's no real overgrowth in trees, but any tree that gets struck by lightning and let's say like loses a branch, we can think of that with the seriousness that like that is source very much pruning what needs to be removed or what needs to be pruned in terms of a new cycle beginning. And so, similar to how we're going to talk about this internal home versus those of us who have no internal home we built within, based on the guidance of this has been a long time. Like this has been something, this dot in time, it's hard to even calculate it, but it is extended well over years of like the Gregorian calendar. So this conversation of what we need to be preparing for and what exactly will benefit you the most to have at this time has been kind of going on in a rather short chunk of time. But it all connects because there was going to be this cutoff of when you should have a sturdy foundation, a sturdy home for the complexities of your multidimensional being. And so now at this time, the first thing that starts off this whole energy, this whole sequence of events is going to be a tower, which means there are, in the age of Pisces, there could have been illusions. So there are a lot of people that are about to find out that like they may live in an estate, they may live in a mansion, they may have always lived there, may have lived there for like 45 years, 50 years, right? They may have had physical structures, and I'm talking physical structures in the third dimension, that they're going to come to find to be illusionary, right? And when I say, or illusory, and the reason is in the age of Pisces there was this misuse of magic, right? This manipulation of magic, because Pisces is the final consciousness, right? So when we were in the age of Pisces, we had gotten to the like height of our power. We understood just how capable we can be as a consciousness. And so because we were at that very high tower, we're going to slowly come back down the ladder. So now that we're transitioning back into the age of the Aquarian, because we mastered the ability to have things like so within, so without, you can manipulate with Pisces, which is important because they understand that they need the other component in order to self-identify, right? They need the other fish, the other half of the yin and yang to make the whole picture. So they learned to divide up the duality and the consciousness and make a good and bad or above and below, so that they could do this, could see what we could create or manipulate without having grounded, right? Pisces doesn't ever have to have any grounding. So without actually having to seed some of this magic, what can we do with magic that's just happening in thin air? And so you could get people who could third dimensionally, let's say, have a certain amount of physical money, revenue, or a certain amount of assets that they've had. But at this time, when I go back and talk about why it was so important for Spirit to start us at the Two of Pentacles, which is what is eternal? What fuels everything? So if you live in a house and you have 5 kids and you have 4 cars and you live in a 10-bedroom home, right? The thing that everybody's getting reduced to with this death parade is what built all that? What is the thing that if all of that went away, if all of that got struck by lightning, like how could you do it again? Could you build this up again? And so this tower comes in at a time because I'll read for the lower vibration of it for those of us who are in this paradigm right now, who were thinking the objective was to like build an ego, manipulate magic, and separate yourself from your own kingdom. And now you're just outside houseless and kind of just being, you guys are all now making some, you're projecting some devil who's put you here when the reality is it's like, we see you in the Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands is a very conscious space. It's very much the energy of, we very much chose to manipulate magic in this way. I chose to arrange these wands in this manner to protect myself. It's like a wounded place, right? It is I need a break before I can go on and finish the Ten of Wands. You get what I'm saying? And so while you guys are busy 50-50, you see what I'm saying? While you guys are busy saying like, oh, the devil's got us and we're struggling with this and that, the reality is with the naked eye we can see that everybody is choosing what they want. So there is no real big devil that just chose you and just wants to wreak havoc on your life. It's really your choice about what you think you deserve. Do you think you deserve some fake fictional master ruling you and causing all this bad karma to continue because you can't remove yourself from the codependent low vibrational densities? Is that what you think you're worth? Because that's what you're living out, right? So when the tower comes in for these people, it is unnerving. It is losing a lot of physicality. But it's also not like a third party. It's like these people are realizing the decisions they are making. This is how karma is going to do this. The decision you make makes you give up your own power. You are going to see in real time that these people can't blame anyone. There's no one to hide anymore. We're not going to keep dogging out the devil either. Okay, that's just a fallen star. That's just a fallen angel. There is nothing to keep dogging homie out about because the devil's got a whole different assignment than what humans project onto that energy. But a lot of these people are going to realize that they are knocking themselves out of their own house of cards because at some point that seed in your heart of insecurity that you didn't earn what you have. You didn't actually build an internal home. You just focused on the external and manipulated your ability to use magic to have what you have. But what presents stability? It's like a tree with no roots. If there was like a tree that's like in the middle of a river, but it's not actually like in the soil of the river, like at the bottom of the river, it's just going to float away, and that's what's happening at this time. That is exactly what's happening at this time. This is unfortunate because it has to do with your fortune. So a lot of those, for that lower timeline, there are people that are going to be experiencing this sensation of literally giving up, destroying everything they built. So is karma, because there's no entity that comes and like distributes karma. We walk ourselves to what we think we are aligned to. So that's happening. On the other extent, just, I'm a child of Uranus. Uranus is my soul dispositor. I'm gonna tell you right now, the storm is the perfect sign of a revolution, right? This reminds me so much of Bad Brains, like a rumble for sure in the city. Like this is about to be exactly the spark that blows up everything. Because if you went on this journey, right? If you went on this journey and got prepared to get out in front of this death process and you're already ready to innovate, like you already have the blueprint of what you would do with a new structure, that means it's basically like, hey guys, like tornado warning, like there's a tornado coming. You guys are for sure, you can see it in the distance. It's about just taking your valuables, taking what you know you need before that, and being at peace with the fact that like all these possessions are about to be gone. And it doesn't even matter because you are connected to the source of those possessions. If you have a flat screen 80-inch TV, you need to be connected to what really created that. What does that really represent? It represents the seed of you. It represents your ability. If you live in a 3-story home, it represents your ability. That's what I'm trying to let y'all know right now. If you drive a foreign car, if you drive a hoopty, no matter what you've been able to bring into yourself, it represents your ability. Never think that the object, which is an illusion, which is just a fake density, which is just light reflected, right? None of this stuff is real, right? But in this reality, everything you have, the ring on my finger, the braids in my hair, are representative of me and my eternal ability, not some external value. So that's what's going to make this tower very difficult, because you can lose everything essentially if you know that you're the one who created all that. You're the one who attracted yourself to be able to create the next steps in the physical reality, to get a big home, to be a homeowner, to be a car owner, to build a family, to work, to go to school, to graduate from school, to do any of these things that we go on to do in life. You have to understand the tower only comes in to really just invigorate you and give you back your power. Because sometimes we make these beautiful castles and our power is diminished because it took a little piece of me over there, and it took a little piece of me to build that room, and it took a little piece of me to make that and put all those possessions in that garage, and da. And then sometimes we don't really feel as powerful as we are, because it can feel like on this third dimension when I look around like, oh, this house is just running me, it's not even me. But the reality is always that you're running the house. You understand what I'm saying? It's always that reality. So in truth, when the tower comes and lights this shit on fire and brings us to revolution, it is that time that you can, the electricity needed to come alive at this time, to be able to really say, dude, it is absolutely 100% the truth of my spirit that I could do this shit again and build it even better, bro. Because the emperor runs the empire. That's our next card. When the emperor gets word that this fell down, you know what the emperor does? He renders aid. He's enacting the plan. He's sending out like the general support. Like, what do we need to do? So there is an emperor energy within ourselves. Okay, so let's read for the highest vibration, right? As this tower comes in, and you already knew that we're all gonna lose this. Anybody who thought like they were snickering and jeering at you, like, haha, because I know a lot of people were looking at me through my vibe, like, you don't have anything. They're about to lose everything too. Like, if you waited till the very last minute, the thing is, like, everything of the old world has to go. And it's not even scary, because whatever value you had, you can have again. But a lot of people are going to be so scarred and wounded by losing all of that they're going to be like, oh, I don't have it. I can't do it. I don't have the energy. I don't have the resource. I can't rebuild that. Well, then that's what it's going to be. But for those of us who know, like, it's not personal. It's what's happening if you need to burn down and rebuild from the ground up, which we have to do. We can't keep being in this destruction cycle. We need to be in the regeneration portion of it as we go into the age of the Aquarian. This is a very welcomed tower. And so this is really about the people who thought they could escape this, who thought that God was just handpicking other people to live in poverty and sovereignty or lack of sovereignty, or go through struggles, or lose some of these earthly possessions. But the real thing is to see who's ready to electrify their power, who stayed connected to God, right? Which is an understanding that this is all one thing, that this is all connected. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you actually believe that, as different as it may seem like the 8 billion people on this planet think and feel, it doesn't even matter about going in and out. If you were a bird's eye view like an Aquarius does, it's all one thing regardless. All the population of humanity is one thing. And so even from just looking at humanity as a whole, right, we get the fortitude we need to embrace the tower and what it really does. It's just a process. It's just a phase that has to come if you want to build up an even better kingdom, which, let me just remind you, we do. It goes from the tower to the Hierophant, right? Right? What makes something holy? It's eternity. These churches that God and nature don't touch, these ancient ruins, we know they're holy because they don't fall down. They don't fall down. It was a time when everybody, ancient Egyptians, ancient Greco-Romans, it doesn't matter, had to come together and build some of these structures. And it was just an example of the structures we were building as a humankind at that time. These physical structures that you can go visit in Turkey, you can go visit in Europe, you can go visit in Asia, you can go visit in Africa, right? These ancient structures that withstand time, that's what the Hierophant is. Because churches, they don't, it's funny, they'll be some of the oldest churches, these temples, these holy spaces. So, and you don't even have to be talking about religious spheres. You could be talking about certain rivers that are still running, certain mountain ranges, holy. How come you can't diminish the Himalayas? You get what I'm saying? You can't diminish the Rocky Mountain range. You can't do that. That's a Hierophant energy. That's a goated energy. Why? Because the difference between this structure and this structure, they could both be, let's say, like churches. But this one is falling because it doesn't have that sacredness. And what makes something sacred? What makes something sacred? It's eternal beauty. It's eternity. It's eternal nature, right? the thing that transcends, and only building with those materials. So it's like paging the emperor. The tower fell. What kind of emperor are you? What kind of emperor are you? When you get word that you lost everything, because some people they didn't volunteer. You could run it back 5959. You could run it back to when I did that message about the volunteers, and you could identify whether you were gonna like God already told y'all this whole thing's gotta go. Age of the Aquarius all gotta go. No shade, no tea. Yet everything we're doing, we're gonna have to rebuild it. So how could you rebuild something if it ain't knocked down? So we knew that you have to embrace the death process, the death parade, right? So when the emperor, it was a masculine energy, it was a judgment call in terms of your internal masculine energy. Did you volunteer, or did you wait? And look at everybody else who volunteered, like, you don't have shit, you don't have nothing, you're losing everything, ha 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 ha. Whole time, those people are already done with the death process, because if you're having a tower now, and that means you're someone who's out of union with the cycles. If the lightning strikes and it's hitting your tree and it falls down, if it hits your house and it falls down, that means you're out of union right now with the ecosystem, which is the last thing you want to be, because that means you're outside of your what? Nature. Okay. So now that you guys are following what I'm saying here, the emperor who's experiencing a tower right now is outside of their nature. That's the whole point God is trying to show you. That's it. You're not in tune with your nature, because your nature is to be in and of the cycles of this world you live in. So death season, we already have the zodiac signs. We're talking about fall. We can't be approaching summer, and some of y'all are just now having towers. Some of y'all are just now getting your shit collected on because you waited for the universe to come and snatch that shit. Because see, the universe don't like to do work. It's in terms of, it's already dealing with the combinations and the synchronicities of everything that is. Like, you're really making it come out of the woodworks to come collect on your shit. There's a tab for that. It's not free. You get what I'm saying? So if you are someone who is experiencing this energy of, I waited till the last second and now I feel like the devil has come for me and I'm losing everything I have. Well, why don't you listen? It's as simple as that. You could have offered it up, or you could have had it snatched. You could have paid your tithes and offering, or you could have had it took. You could have lost your job. Which one do you want it to be? Nothing. There's no free rides. There's no free rides. There's no need for one. You were made accountable. You were created with intention to be able to sustain your own life. You don't got to worry about nobody else. You got to worry about sustaining your own life. So when this emperor gets word, what's the game plan? Are you the emperor that's like, what? The empire's falling? What? I'm freaking out. Or are you the empire that already had that, is already past that? Was like, my empire fell because God asked me to dismantle it, so it didn't have to be painful. It didn't have to dethrone me. I could have moved to something new. I could have taken it apart myself, which is the path I took. It's the path my husband took. Because when you look forward about what path is ahead of you, which one did you choose? It's going to come back to, what do you believe is the truth for you? With this death parade, it's going to show that line in the sand that you either made a line in the sand or you built a home for yourself. It's two realities. You either believed that you're victimized to this, to making your own home, or you just built your own home because you saw you had a fat stack of supplies to do so, right? That's it, right? Because this says, I saw this coming, and I G'd up. I saw this coming, so I became a boss. I ran my own internal empire so that by the time this happened, what's the issue? What's the problem? I'm not getting it. Because are you fighting your own victory? 7 of Wands? Or are you handling and dealing with and tending to the land? You get what I'm saying? Are you fighting your own sense of victory? Putting your own foot in your mouth at this time? Or are you getting somewhere and getting to work? Because I think there's a lot of people who, like I said, are on that lower vibration that you will definitely see, because it's it's a, you either are or you aren't, right? So if we're bringing it back to that conversation of like, you either built a home for yourself at this time or you have not done that yet. And I can't speak to how the journey will be because I won't be walking with you. I didn't wait to build my home. I built it when I was instructed to. So I presume there will always be time to return home to yourself. But you won't always have the same planetary support. You won't always have the astrological and energetic climate that's upgrading. You won't always be in time with the season. So a lot of these people will have to wait until the seasons are attuned, because if they were to spend the time to attune their chakra column to the actual frequency of the world and the ecosystem that they live in, they will do that in due time. But right now is spring. Right now shit is growing, and a lot of people right now, this is all the shit that they plan to popping up. Are you literally trying to cut your crops down now? Because you hate what's growing? Are you chopping your own shit that's coming? Like, is the truth coming up about you? Because this is the truth that a lot of these people are trying to fucking shit. No. Nobody wants anybody to see. But you can't even hold it back. You can't even hold it back. Because this is the truth. This is what's coming out of the ground. This is what they're trying to keep from coming out of the ground. But it's overwhelming how much you don't have a house, and that's why you're freaking out right now. That's why you're trying to stamp out the truth. That's why you're trying to be in denial about the truth. Listen, it is what it is. It is what it is. But this is also the conversation of you leading your corner of the revolution, right? There are many leaders in this revolution. Everyone who participates is a leader in this revolution. Everyone who participates has their own ability to lead a sub-quadrant, which would be themselves. Lead yourself, right? So that's the higher octave of that energy, right? It's like when you're being called to, can you handle 6v1? Can you handle that kind of smoke? I think you can, if you're someone who's walking with death. Who death is fortifying you because you accepted it, that it's needed. It's like the best, it's the next phase. It's like it's freedom. Death is really freedom. The Hierophant. We're going to end this message at what is holy? What does it mean to build something sacred? What are the sacred things that we see or we call out in our life? When we go somewhere and we're like, man, that hike I just went on in that green belt was so just serene and sacred and untouched. What does that mean? What are we referring to? We're talking about something that's Two of Pentacles. Something that's like, when you go to a sacred space, it always makes you feel like no matter, it's something that's untouched, that preserves, that transcends. The Hierophant. And I'm proud of myself today, and I'm going to shout myself out, and I'm going to talk my own shit to myself, because I am the damn Hierophant. Because no matter what has happened to me, and I want to shout out my beautiful dog, Bailey Taylor, and I want to give an update that Bailey has led me back here, and now she's like, you're free, Alexis. You are free to be yourself, to express the way that you need to express. You don't have to bottle it in, and you have built a home for yourself. And she is always in this home with me, and I'm so grateful that I made a place for my beautiful dog, and that she asked me to facilitate her transition. So I love you, Bailey, and thank you for bringing me to this message today. Thank you, Mercy, for bringing me to this message today. Thank you to my parents who brought me to this message today. Thank you to my husband who brought me to this message today. But most importantly, thank you to myself, who built a home, and now destiny and fate can come right in, as they were always going to do in divine right time, because you're in time. You're in flow. Just like the spring is budding, you are also budding. You are growing. You are becoming. And this is something indescribable. It's neither nirvana nor samsara. It's both. It's the pain of samsara being seated in the heart, and it's the rays of the great eastern sun on my back at the same time. And that's what this space has always been. That's what makes this space a ritual. That's what makes this space so sacred to me. And that's why I'm going to free myself to always utilize this place and build something beautiful as I feel I need to, when I feel I need to. Because as you can tell, my pen game has not stopped. These hands are still activated, and it's because I really do this in my real life. So I just give glory and honor to the Most High for being exactly where I am right now. Because if you knew the circumstances, like I always say, if you knew the circumstances in which I was recording this, you'd be fucking impressed. But that's the part that I want to let this death energy leave behind and just give you the eternalness of the living word that I'm sharing. So congratulations. This is the first death parade that I feel like many of us have had fun walking in, parading in. You so deserve it. You so deserve to feel the push of the universe behind every fucking thing you do. You deserve it. You so deserve it. And to my brothers and sisters out there, to all the sentient beings, this will be the greatest awareness you ever receive about what was important. And when those ships return in that next cycle and in that season, when it will be your turn again to make the decision, I have full faith that there will be no monster outside of you, because you will have integrated your shadow, you will have ascended your being, you will have re-remembered and reawakened to what you came here to do, and there will no longer be arguing and locking yourself out of your own internal home. You can go home. I want everyone to return home. Just glory be to the Most High, to many, many more messages. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1.